Hi guys, this is the Whispering Light. Today I'm going to do a soft speaking video because I'm going to show you how to make a mandala, and I'm also using my actual camera, and I'm not sure how well the audio works on that, and this video is going to be long, so I don't want to re-record it if the whispering isn't audible. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you some examples of mandalas that I've made, and then I will show you what you're going to need, and then we'll just get right into making one. So this is the first one that I made. It is, I had to make one of these for my geometry class in 10th grade, and this was the first one that I made, and I ended up making two for that class, and in fact this wasn't even the one that I turned in, but it's kind of got like fiery colors and kind of a little bit of maybe a fiery design, but this one was my fire themed mandala, and I made the 4 elements, and I made a couple of the seasons, but this is the fire one, and this is one of the best ones that I actually made. So the next one is the water element, and so this I think was the 3rd or 4th one I made, and it's got like little blue circles that are supposed to be kind of like bubbles, and these are like little stones that you would find in the water. This, even though it has 6 points, is kind of like a starfish, and that's how I colored it to look. And then like in between, it's a little bit darker, so it's supposed to symbolize the deep sea. And then this golden ring kind of reminded me of Poseidon in Greek mythology. So this one was a lot of work because, as you can see, I cut out each of the little circles around the edge. For the one that we make today, I'm going to do a simple circle for the edge, so I won't be cutting out for an hour. So here's that one. Here is the one that I made for winter. I made winter and spring, and I'll show you the spring one next. And I'm not going to show you the air and the earth elements because they're not very good. So I'm just going to show you these 2 elements that I made, and then the 2 seasons that I made. And today, for the video, I think that I'm going to make the summer mandala. But here's the winter one. So you can see it obviously looks like a big snowflake. A lot of these lines were just made by using a ruler. I don't really remember how I did this part with this, but it looks pretty cool. I think that for the points, I might have just like freehanded that, and I did this the same way that I did like the starfish. But this is kind of a simpler one, in my opinion, but I think it captured the winter spirit pretty well. The next one is the spring one. This is, I think, my best, and this is the one that I ended up turning in for my geometry project. You can see that it kind of looks like a lotus flower, with like the green leaves and then the pink and yellowy flower. But it is supposed to look just like a flower, and I used like a lot of the colors that we usually think about when we think of spring, so the pinks and the light blues and yellows and oranges and greens. This one also I had to cut out really carefully because it was more than just getting in between these two. There was a couple where the layers kind of stuck out, so I had to be careful that I wasn't cutting off the tips of those or anything. So this was a lot of fun to make. I thought this one was one of my best, so I turned it in, and I got a really good grade on it too, I think. And in fact, I think our teacher hung this one up for an example. But I'm pretty proud of this one. Again, we're not going to do anything as intricate as with the edges, but I think the summer one should be cool because I've got an idea for what I want to do. So that's that one, and then I'm going to show you one more. This one is based off of a TV show, actually. I don't know how many of you watch Once Upon a Time, but I made this a couple years ago to be like an evil queen themed mandala. So there's the poison apple in the middle with a bite taken out of it, and then sticking off are feathers. And I don't know if you do watch it, if you know anything about Lana Parrilla, who plays the evil queen, but she has a feather thing. She's got like a feather on her wrist and I think one somewhere on her back, if I remember correctly. And she apparently was going through a tough time at some point, and a feather kind of just like fell in front of her and she saw it, and she took it kind of as a symbol that she was on the right path. So it's been like a feather is a really meaningful thing for the actress who plays her. So I did some of those, and then along the edges I wrote different quotes that had to do with her. So the red ones are actual quotes that she said. The purple ones are quotes from Only Human by Christina Perry, I think, because when I hear that song I kind of think of her. And then she calls her fan base Evil Regals, so I wrote that in black. So I think this one's pretty cool too. It uses less geometry than the other ones, but I like it. Alright, so we're gonna get started with, I'm gonna show you what you'll need. The first thing you'll need is just a plain piece of paper, printer paper. The only paper that won't work, I mean, don't use lined paper, but like there's some paper that has like the imprint of like a company, the company who makes it on the paper. So make sure you don't have that because that'll really kind of take away from your mandala. And a lot of paper that we have has that, so I had to be really careful that I wasn't grabbing one of those sheets. The next thing you need is a compass. This is mine, but I'm not sure that I'm going to use this one today because the tip of it is kind of dull. But this one I had in middle school, or not middle school, in 9th or in 10th grade. So I'm more familiar with it than the other ones. I'm also not very good at using a compass, So, I apologize if I end up making like a really bad mistake with the compass. I also have this kit. This isn't required, but it's helpful because there's a little ruler in there. There's one of these if you want to do angles. There's more compasses in here. I think that I might end up using this one, which I'm more unfamiliar with, but it has a better tip. So I might use this one instead. I'm going to put that to the side. This one also has a pencil sharpener and another compass. This one, instead of just putting a piece of lead inside of it, you can put your pencil right in through there and have that, and that's what this pencil here is for. But I'm probably not going to use that. So next, you'll need just a regular pencil for the stuff that you can't do with a compass. Mine has a pretty good eraser, but just in case, I also have a bigger eraser. This one kind of reminds me of Neapolitan ice cream. I've had this one for a while, and I guess I haven't used it that much, but it feels like I have. It feels like this has gotten a lot of use. I think it must have been pretty long before. It used to have a little plastic or rubber piece that went around it that I had to take off because it got too worn down. But this is the eraser I usually use when I'm working on art projects like this. So you need to make sure that you've got an eraser as well. Also, I would make sure that you have a bigger ruler, just so that you can measure like larger spaces. Or really, any straight edge would work because you're not really using it to measure anything, you're just using it to draw straight lines. Next, I would recommend having a pencil sharpener. This is mine. I'll open it up and hopefully stuff won't fly everywhere. You just sharpen the pencil in there, and then the shavings collect in this portion. So every once in a while you might have to empty this out if you're sharpening your pencil a lot, but otherwise it works pretty well. And this is the one I also usually use when working on art projects. Next, you'll need some markers. I have a lot of markers in here that are both like wider and skinnier, so like these. I have a couple highlighters, Sharpie highlighters in here. I have a big Sharpie somewhere. I might have to pause the video to grab that because I didn't think of that before. I don't think that's in reaching distance right now. Maybe I won't need it, but I have a lot of different colors, and my markers, even though a lot of them are kind of getting worn out, they're really pretty. My other markers have a skinnier tip that I didn't grab for this video, and those they tend to, when you draw or write with them, they kind of leave like chunks of themselves along the line that you drew. So I didn't really want that, because then when you brush them away it leaves smears. I don't want that. And neither do you. So make sure you have markers that don't do that. Next, you'll need some colored pencils. I've got a lot of colors here. You could use crayons as well to color them in, but my personal preference is colored pencils. I thought about maybe using crayons because I just got a new pack of them, but I'm more familiar with colored pencils. And I've got a wide variety of colors for these. And that's also why having a pencil sharpener is important, because you'll probably be doing like quite a bit of coloring with them. You'll also need a pair of scissors. Those of you who have seen some of my previous videos, I've had these in them before. But these are important to cut out the mandala. You can just leave it like in the bigger paper, but I think it gives it a cleaner look if you cut it out and just have it as a circle. And finally, you don't need to do this, but it might be helpful to have some coins in case you want to draw a smaller circle that your compass won't draw. So for example, I'm going to show you the water mandala again. For the rocks, I guess I used a nickel. That is a nickel, right? Yep. So I used a nickel and I kind of traced around it because my compass wouldn't draw circles that small. And I think, yeah, for these I used a dime. So if you want to do something like that, which I think we're going to for the sun design, I would recommend having some coins or something else circular shaped for the smaller circles. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with this, I think, and if it doesn't work out as well, I will go back to the green compass. So you just put the metal point anywhere on the paper, and that will become your central point. And then depending on how big you want your circle, you can move this around. So I want it about that big, I think. Hold on. I'm going to move this over a little bit because I have this thing that I have to worry about. The good thing about the metal point is that it usually pokes through the paper, so you have no problem finding your central point. So I'm going to just rotate the paper. And then you have a nice circle. And then just for future reference, I'm going to put a dot with the pencil in the central point so I can see it more clearly. So next, I think I'm going to make another circle. This time it's going to be smaller than the first circle. So about there. I'm going to scoot this down again and find the central point. And I'm just going to make another circle. With the compass. Okay. So now you can see, and I know that the lighting is not really good right now, with the lightness of the pencil marks that I've made. But you can see that there's a bigger circle and a smaller one inside of it. And now, let's see if I remember how to do this. But we're going to make little, kind of almost like petals that are going out. So like the starfish, like this part here. Because I want to do something, let me explain to you my idea. I want to do something similar to this for the sun for summer. So I think I'm going to do something similar to this where I've got overlapping petals. And I'm not sure that I remember how to do that, but we're going to try it. And then we'll do something along here too. I'm just not sure what yet. And then in the behind the sun, we might do some green for summer. And before I forget, I'm going to make one more circle that's going to be the center of the sun. So it'll be quite a bit smaller. Okay. And that's just going to be the center, so the petals are going to radiate off of that. So then we're going to make little marks along the side. So make sure that you line your ruler up with the central point here. And then you can take your pencil and let me think. You have to make a mark with your pencil, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it would be on the outermost circle. And you make it on both sides. And then you do it downward too. And then you can also do it across, depending on the amount of petals you want. And as centered as you can make it for the lines would be the best. I think I did alright. So next I'm going to, and you can see kind of the little tick marks that I put around the sides. I'm going to line up my compass with each tick mark, and I'm going to put my pencil point on the center mark, and then I'm just going to do a half circle. Just like that. And then you're going to go around and do that for each tick mark. Because eventually they're going to come together, making your petals. Just like that. See, this one came together, so there's one of your rays of sun. gonna keep going around. Sorry about that. You also have to be careful that your compass doesn't slip while you're drawing. And this should be the last one. Alright, so you can see that I've made the first layer of the rays, and I only want them to be in this section here. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the rest of them, starting on the outside. And you might want to be careful, just so that you don't erase part of the circle like I did there. But if you happen to, you can always redraw it like I'm going to when I'm done erasing. Just by lining up the compass with the outer circle and just redrawing it that way. While I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about the camera that I'm using to film this video, just briefly, because it's not the camera that I normally use. It's actually an actual camera, not from like my iPod, which is what I normally film on. So I'd like you guys to tell me if you prefer this camera or if you prefer the other one, and how the sound quality is compared to my regular videos. Because that feedback really helps me improve and make better videos for you guys. So there's the outside. And then I don't want any of this in here either. So I'm just going to go around and erase that as well. Erase these lines. I can't remember if I still need these tick marks, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them right now. Also, you can see sometimes this tends to happen, where they cross before they reach the line. In fact, that's how it is for most of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and like erase those tiny lines with the pencil eraser, because I can do smaller areas like that. And you don't, if you're drawing lightly, you don't have to be perfect with the marks, with erasing them, because a lot of the time you can just go back and do a really quick erase after you've outlined the mandala in Sharpie, because that Sharpie obviously won't erase, so you can just erase after that if you want. But it's helpful to know where you are if you erase the lines that you don't need as you go. because it makes it cleaner while you're working. You won't have to worry about lines you don't need. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and draw in the outer line again. I'm going to start from over here. Hold on. Where's my central point? Okay. Alright. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the inside lines really quick right here with my pencil. Eraser. Move this out of the way because it's poking me in the hand. And then if they don't cross over very much, like here, alright, you can see that very well. There you go. You don't have to worry about that right now. Just make sure you get it. Make sure you don't Sharpie it that way, because then it will be permanently crossed over, and we really want clean points for this. So now I'm just gonna go over the inner line one more time to make sure that's all connected. And now, I think I'm going to erase the middle because I don't want those there either. I just want these in this section. So I'm going to go ahead and do a really quick erase in this center section, because this is the center of the sun. And when we see pictures, not of the real sun, but of cartoon suns, there aren't rays. The rays don't come from the center normally. They sprout off of the center. And I think for this one, because I don't want to draw another circle, well, I've already broken the line, so I'm going to anyway. But if you don't want to keep drawing your circles, you can just do like the very center and get as close as you can to the line, and then just erase with like the pencil eraser closer to the line so that you don't have to redraw them every time, which I think I will try to do next time, because we are going to draw another set of petals. Some other ones that I don't have because I've given them away to people. I've made them as gifts for some people who usually really appreciate them, because they usually have to do with that person when I make them. They're usually pretty personalized. In fact, I made one for my stepdad a couple years ago, and it was actually for the Kentucky Derby. We do this thing in our family where we bet on which horse will win, and then whoever we each pick I think we each pick like an even, or it depends on how many horses are racing, and I don't remember how many horses usually race. But based on the number of horses that are racing, we pick until they're all gone. So whenever a horse wins, the person who picks the winning horse gets like a special prize, and from each family member. So I made my stepdad a mandala with the symbols and colors of the horse that won, and so I thought that was pretty cool. Here's the ruler. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm gonna put different central points. And it's really important that you keep these central points, or tick marks, I mean. You gotta make sure that you know the difference. So these I'm going to make a little bit longer. Oops. These I'm going to make a little bit longer, so that I can tell them apart from the already existing tick marks. And these ones are easier to line up because you can line them up based on the points of the race that you just made. I wanted to do this video on an actual table because right now I'm working on my lap desk, which gives me limited space, and it has this light that I can't really do anything about, and it's got this part down here that I can't really do anything about, so my space is more limited. And it's also torn up a little bit down here at the bottom. But the tables, the table that the camera is sitting on this table, it's too wobbly to do a mandala because it requires it requires you to be pretty still, or at least not as wobbly. Like this moves. It's hard to explain, but like the table like wobbles and it like moves without you, I guess. And the other tables in my house are too nice to be sticking a compass inside of, because the compass does dig through the paper. It like digs onto this. So now we're gonna go back and do the same thing that we did with the first tick marks. So we're gonna line up the point with the tick mark, and then line up the pencil with the central point. Another way of doing this that I just remembered is you can just start there. Start where you want the line to be. This requires a little bit more, it's a little bit more meticulous that way, but it's doable, and it works better, I think, because you don't have to redraw the lines, and you don't have to do a lot of erasing. But you just do the same thing. You sweep it across. You just start at a different point. these I'm just gonna go over really quick. And make sure we have clean points. For the most part we do. And I think I might want to do a couple more tick marks in between these because I want to have like an under layer. So for these, you should line it up kind of at the intersection point between the two, and you can just set them apart by making them a little bit darker or shorter. And then once you make them, you can erase the other ones if you would like. So that you don't get confused. You could also just count to make sure. So I'll show you in a second. You could also check to make sure where the tick marks are lined up, because that will also help you. And that was the last one. Okay. So, the tick marks that we just did, these are the long ones, so I'm going to go ahead and erase those first. And then every other one from the long ones. So if you start at the long ones and you go every other, you erase every other one, then it should tell you which ones are the tick marks that you just made. And I think you should erase these before you start making your next set of sun rays, so that you don't get confused and accidentally make an extra ray by mistake. Not that it would do much except just overlap one of the already existing ones. Okay, so now we have the tick marks we need for the final layer. So for these, again, you'll just line up the metal point with the tick mark and line up the pencil point with the central point, and then you'll just draw you'll draw to the outer line, and you'll just go along each point and do the same thing. And hopefully this will give us some layers to our sun. That we can maybe do alternating red and orange, and then we could do the inside yellow maybe. And it will give our sun a little bit of depth. You can see, but my hand sometimes shakes a little bit. It just has a little bit of a tremble in it. So you gotta be careful if your hand does that too. It's not necessary to have a steady hand. You just have to make sure you're careful with the line making and smaller details. In fact, I might do the coloring and the markers in a separate video because my camera is getting low on battery. Or I might just do them in the same video and just connect them. But let me finish the pencil first. So, yeah, that looks good. That's all of the rays that I'm going to do. And just giving us some clean points. So let me hold it closer so that you can see the rays. So we've got a bottom layer and a top layer, and it gives your sun some depth. This I'll probably just color yellow, unless I think of a separate design. Back here we're probably going to do a green. And here I think that we might I'm trying to think of what else kind of says summer to me. So I think we might well, a beach says summer to me. So if we did the sun here, the green in the background, and then I did kind of a squiggle along the side, and I made 1/2 sand and 1/2 water. I think that that would really kind of encompass the summer feel, but I would want to make a small band of yellow to kind of close off the beach, and just kind of repeat the sun idea. So I'm going to do one more big circle, and this I'm going to do just on the inside of the larger circle. I'm gonna drag this over here. Just to kind of close off the mandala. Okay, this might happen to you if you're not careful, which I was not. Where your compass will slip, and it just makes a little line. Usually, if it's not too bad, you can erase it pretty easily, like I just did, and then you just keep going. But it's nice if it doesn't happen, so try to be more careful than I am. But it's not really a big deal if it does slip. You could just erase it. And then this, if your circle does break a little bit, just in general, you can usually close it off with your pencil if you're careful. And then I think this might not be very neat, but I'm just going to start a squiggle. That's kind of going to be the beach. And for this connection, you should make sure it's smooth if you're doing a squiggle. And then for any sharper points, I would go through and kind of smooth them out, just to make sure it looks as smooth as it can. But it is a beach, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Just as long as there aren't any sharper points for your squiggle. So try to smooth out anything that kind of stands out as a sharper point. You don't necessarily need to erase to do that, just go over it. I'm going to erase that one because I ended up making it more pointy than I wanted. It's always kind of scary when you freehand when working with a mandala because everything else is so meticulous, and like you use a compass and everything, so there's not a lot of room for error, like human error, because I mean it's a compass, so unless it slips, it's pretty much going to be perfect, or as perfect as it can get. But when you're doing stuff freehand, like the squiggles, it can get a little bit scary. But just in general, squiggles don't need to be perfect because, unless you're doing a different kind of design. But like as far as nature goes, like this is supposed to represent a beach, and the waves and the shoreline aren't usually perfect, so it kind of looks better, almost, if it isn't perfect. But it doesn't look very good if it's if you have sharpness in your angles. So, but as long as they're pretty smooth, you don't need to worry about it being even, or if all the dips and waves are exactly the same height. You don't usually need to worry about that because it's not that way in the natural world anyway. So it doesn't look bad, and most of the time, people won't notice if it is a little bit messy. Sometimes they will, but always. Most of the time when you look at a work of art, most people don't really look at it and critique it and say, well, these waves are much closer together than these waves. They just kind of look at it and think that it looks good. So don't be too worried about freehanding stuff like this, because the odds are that it's not going to be perfect. But okay. So that is going to be my beach. And then I'm going to erase the tick marks now. And then for these, you can just, if they're small enough, you can really just erase the whole thing with the line included, because you can draw the line back in with the compass or even with your pencil if it's a small enough mark. And if you're careful, so you can just go over that again lightly, because you will be going over the entire thing with Sharpie, and that is a freehand also, so you'll have to be careful. But if the pencil isn't perfect, you're just erasing that anyway. Or if you even don't even want to erase the tick marks, which I guess I'm not going to do the rest of them, you can always erase them after you do the Sharpie. So, this is the pencil portion, and I think I'm about done with drawing it. So now I am going to let my camera charge back up. Excuse me. And then when I come back, I am going to color it and do the Sharpie.